And it's called the regular meeting of the Saugatuck Township Board to order on Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. If you are able, please join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I'll note that all trustees are present with the exception of trustee Marcy, because she is excused and absent. That brings us to item number 3 on today's agenda, which is report, and we have an update from our county clerk, Bob Janetsky. He's ready. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Supervisor, members of the board. Bob Janetsky with a brief update from the county clerk and registered deeds. I appreciate the opportunity. Well, some of us are looking toward a November 2025 election. We thankfully dodged that one. Down in Allegan, we're still crunching numbers from the election last year of November. Wanted to throw some numbers relative to that at you tonight. Countywide, there were 72,435 voters that took place in November of 2024. That translates to about 71.35% of the electorate. Roughly 50% of the votes in the county were either early in-person voting or absentee. I'm going to repeat that. Roughly 50% of the people who turned out last year were early in-person or absentee. That's a number that pretty well shocked us for a county that typically turns out on the election day to participate. We had 25,223 voters who participated early in-person, meaning they voted before election day. And that meant that Allegan County was second to the entire state in early in-person voting. Yeah, I give a lot of credit to our local clerks, our election inspectors, and our township boards and city councils who made a determination to bring the voting as close as they could to the voters where they're used to casting their ballots. A lot of other counties are now looking at the Allegan County model and adopting to that. Some big counties who held out of attention are there in which they remained prior. In Saugatuck Township, we had 2,702 voters turnout. That's 80.72%, puts you in the top 5 as far as jurisdiction turnout. Now, 2 things relative to that. One isn't going to surprise you. You have a lot of very civic-minded people who believe very much in making sure that they cast their ballot. But also, whoever maintains your qualified voter file is doing a very good job. Because we have other jurisdictions where the qualified voter file is not being maintained. And voters who need to be taken off the rolls are on there, artificially deflating the voter turnout. So whoever's doing that, make sure you compliment that individual and keep it up here.
We know who to thank, but
In case you didn't know, the 48th Circuit Court records are now online. It used to be that if someone did damage to township property, Manager DeFranco would have to come down to 113 Chestnut Street and stand at the window to find out the progress of that case, or to call down to the friendly deputy first to find out where that case is. Now, if he wants to, he can just open up his laptop at midnight and find out what the situation is with that. Go online. Or if you're like me and you're out at Spectators on a Friday night, you're running into the former high school sweetheart, and you're wondering if her divorce is finalized or not, you can pull out your iPhone and go right there. Answer that night. Want to make sure each of your members who is aware of property fraud alert, the service that we have through the Register of Deeds office. There are also brochures out in the audience as well. Property fraud alert is a service that if you go online and register for it, we'll send you an email, a text message, or a phone call if someone should report something on or over your name in the Register of Deeds office. No doubt you're aware that property theft and title theft are on the rise. And well, we've only had 1 case of it that we're aware of right now in Allegan County. We'd like everyone to be protected. I know that it works because just last year a senior citizen called me in my office. She said, "Bob, I got an email, they're stealing my property." I said, "Mom, calm down, what's going on?" She said, "Well, I signed up for property fraud alert. I got an email from you that somebody reported something." So we went online to the free searchable database, also at the same website. found out that she had paid off her mortgage and the mortgage being released that was reported. So it will inform you of whether it's a legal transaction or not, as to what's going on.
Sorry.
Sure.
Is this the same program you brought to us about a year ago?
Yep. No changes to
I
it.
signed up the next day.
All right, fantastic.
Is that something new?
Then you can share your brochure with friends and neighbors.
Okay.
Want to make sure you're aware of my most recent annual report to the taxpayers. I'm not going to read the entire thing to you because Clerk Osmond likes to go home with a cup of tea and make sure she's got every word memorized. Would like to draw your attention to just a few pages though. For some of the highlights, if you take a look at page 4, just a reminder that the Office of the County Clerk of Register of Deeds, as per the Constitution, belong in the county seat. The county is in violation of that, having moved the Register of Deeds office out to the Dumont Lake facility. On page 6, at the bottom right-hand side, and there's some of these copies in the audience as well. There's a little blue box there. As I mentioned to you, voters really like the early in-person voting option for the November general election. However, for the presidential primary in February, we only had 1.89% of voters who participated take part in that. So that didn't cost a lot of money. And as you know, it takes a lot of personnel to run. If there's some way we could negotiate with the legislature to make some changes to maybe shorten those or have fewer days for the not as popular elections, I think it'd be less of a burden on all local jurisdictions. Turning the page next to the bottom of page 11, something that concerns me greatly, that last paragraph there of the 24 township clerks countywide. Last year in August, 8 of them chose not to run for office again. That means that 1/3 of our township clerks turned over, and we had several city clerks turn over as well. In the people who decided to retire last year, and I don't blame anybody for retiring, this job has changed drastically since we had Clerk Bickford in office. But that means that we lost over 104 years of institutional knowledge. And there aren't a whole lot of people who necessarily want to run for clerk with the way the new job looks and all the changes. So if you have a good clerk, please make sure that you take care of her or him.
Bob, quick question on that. I mean, is the county taking measures to influence, the municipalities on how to retain, their clerks and their talent?
One of the things I did is go around and talk to each board like yours and let them know that there were not a lot of people interested. Given the 27 days of early voting last year and such, I encourage them to please look at what they're paying clerks. As you're all aware, at the township level versus the city level, you cannot include an extra stipend for running elections. So in the big years, whatever the salary is, that's the salary, and that's a big detriment in a place like Lee Township, where they probably make about 10 grand a year, and where they probably they don't even have set formal office hours down there. And the turnover we've had just in Lee Township, we've had 3 different clerks there since I've been in office. Other than that, we do the absolute best we can to do the training for election inspectors and stuff like that. But it's really the job of the local board and the constituency to make the clerk feel as if they can support him. I'm open to ideas though, if you have more. If you turn to page 12, a look at turnout in the box on the lower left-hand side. Turnout last year versus other years. It was the 3rd highest turnout statewide going back to 1996. If you look at page 13, we've got a chart in the very middle of the page with the number of registered voters last year at election time, which was 101,517. The turnout for the election, which was 72,435 countywide, and then the top vote getters in the county. Next, turning to the bottom of page 14 in the Vital Records Division. Transactions overall in the Vital Records Division increased from 4,386 in 2023 to 4,860 in 2024. The bulk of those being concealed pistol license applications. And if you turn the page to page 15, you see the pie graph in the middle on the top 15. And we note that 51% of all the transactions in the Vital Records Division are concealed pistol licenses. Next, if you turn to page 16, I do appreciate your patience with the length of the report. The big election years always produce bigger reports. On page 16, the important question in the middle of the page, where do babies come from? No doubt you're aware that there are no longer any birthing hospitals in Allegheny County. So those who choose to give birth in a hospital go north to Holland, south to South Haven, north to Grand Rapids, and south to Kalamazoo. However, all of the births currently recorded in Allegheny County are home births. And you see the little teddy bear map at the bottom showing how many home births took place in each jurisdiction throughout the county. If you look at page 18 next, we see at the top of the page just the bar graph of trends in vital records. Most of the transactions overall are really static, with the exception of the thin blue line at the top, which is the concealed pistol licenses. You see how often those vary. Need your help on page 19. Members of the board, I have no doubt there are a lot of very patriotic people who have served our country in Allegheny County. And if you look at that chart in the very middle of the page, we offer the free service of recording DD-214s or papers of honorable discharge for those of our members who have served in the military. That number tends to drop a lot during big election years when the county clerk doesn't get out and speak about that service as much. So if you know of anybody who has retired or come to Saugatuck Township who served in our military, we would gladly have that individual come down to our office, bring his or her original DD-214, record that with our office. We'll give the original back as well as certified copies, and then we'll issue certified copies as long as the veteran or his or her heirs wants those. From the page 22, at the top of the page, you see the pie graph chart of new cases filed with the 48th Circuit Court in 2024. There were 2,560 new cases filed last year in the Circuit Court. On page 25, we jump over to the other office under my purview, the Register of Deeds. And we see in the blue box up on the upper right-hand corner that there were 291 more documents filed in 2024 than in 2023. And we're going to get a look at what that looks like on page 27. If you take a look at the bar graph there, the two most frequently reported documents in the Register of Deeds office are mortgages and land transfers, otherwise known as deeds. And we can see a trend for the office overall there. And if you note in 2020 and 2021, we hit some all-time highs in the office as far as documents reported with over 30,000. Those dropped significantly after the COVID years, but we think we bottomed out last year in 2023, and that's, we're starting to make a comeback there as you see those two bar graphs increase there at the very bottom of your chart. On page 28, the bar graph there, we're coming real closely on the end of the report. At the top, that's the money that the county took in from all those land transfers. And so you see we hit the high amounts of 2020, 2021, and 2022, and then dropping quite a bit down to 2023. That rebounded in 2024. The county took in $6.6 million, a little more than that, in state real estate transfer tax, and $980,098.35 county transfer tax. Those numbers kind of surprised us because of the great decline. It just means that the value of the properties overall are still staying high, sort of being transacted, many of those along the lake shore. Finally, on the bottom of page 30, passport application are down significantly in the office of the Register of Deeds. We knew we had an all-time high in 2023. A lot of people waited just a little bit after COVID to come in and get that, and then they were all traveling. And so we expected it to be down. We didn't know if we thought it dropped that much. It's still the third highest in the last 11 years since we moved that service from vital records over to the Register of Deeds office. And the rest, I'll let you read at home or have Clerk Osmond tell you what she thinks on that. Don't know if you got to see it or not, but recently I had a letter to the editor or an editorial, depending on which paper you saw it in, relative to ranked choice voting. I have a lot of concerns about ranked choice voting. This jurisdiction alone in the last 20 years has had 2 very high profile recounts. I have no idea how we would perform a recount with ranked choice voting in place. And then as well as your county clerk, any voting system that would have to eliminate people's votes to get to a winner has me very concerned that we might be going down a dark path. But I'll let you read that on your own. If you have any questions for me, please email those or call me. Finally, your constituents need some help. I'd like our board members to please help them. Your constituents are smart people. I know this because they must know their state constitution, because they continue to come down to the courthouse looking for the Register of Deeds office, and they know the state constitution says the Register of Deeds office, Drain Commissioner's office, and Treasurer's office are supposed to be at the county seat in the courthouse. The county decided to violate that and move those out. So we still get people every day coming all the way down to the courthouse looking for those services. I feel bad for them. The county did a poor job of publicizing it. So if you should know anybody making their way down to make a transaction, please let me know which building to go to. With that, I'll take any questions or concerns I have relative to the report, property fraud alert.
I was wondering, the veteran's ID card, would that be available to widows? I have to come up with a form quite often, but
To my knowledge, it's only available to the veteran, his or herself, but can I double check with the office and send you a note?
there was a little something about the families and all that, so I was just curious. I mean, it's not a problem to come up with it, it's just.
Yep, I will double check on that and send you a note.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks very much. It's good to see you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, after presentations, we have a presentation on John Walker and Brian Kilpatrick. Come on up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
I'm Johnny Walker, Senior Graphic Developer. Brian Patrick with Flag Momentum. And Ryan and I worked together on another project down in Fayetteville. It's a local housing project. We actually just got approved last night to do 72 workforce housing units down there. And we have another project planned here for Saugatuck. I've done 2 projects in Saugatuck. I've done Black Barn Ridge, as well as the Estates of Pine Glen, which you may recall was the old sand pit lot. It was quite an eyesore. Now it's a nice single family community. So the next project we're working on is at the roundabout, at the northeast corner of the roundabout. And a gentleman's on that parcel for sale since the 80s. He was on the other side of the state, wanted to retire fully, and gave her this property was part of his initiative. So along with the theme of Black Barn Ridge and Pine Glen, I'm not big into tree clearing. I like to retain as much of the maturity on the property as possible. So what we've done is on the 10-acre site, we've only placed 5 acres worth of construction or infrastructure to be built. And the way we came up with this idea was we had our engineers go out and survey all the existing trees that were over a 12-inch diameter. They mapped them for us, and then we designed the neighborhood around as many of those as possible in order to retain the 30, 40, 50-inch pines, maples, and oaks that are on this property. We are straddled in the corners by some low-lying wetland areas, so we're not doing anything there. However, we are putting in on property additional amenities. So we're putting in for the residents a bocce court, horseshoe area, some reflection areas that could be double use as stretching or yoga spaces and whatnot. Another part that we're adding in as a community feature is So I'm an avid cyclist and I'm up and down Old Algon all the time and connecting up to Blue Star, and I just don't like going through that roundabout. So we're putting in a pedestrian cycling and walking path through the property, so you can cut through, not have to go to the roundabout, and you'll exit at the north end of the property off of Blue Star. That also will act as a second egress point for the fire department, who's reviewed this, so that they don't have to do any awkward turnarounds. They can have multiple points of egress coming through the development. Now, what we didn't know when we got into this project was the township's master plan for sewer and water, and how to service more businesses without having to have large septic fields taking up a lot of land. Well, this location is actually ideal because it allows for us not only to create something to service the development, but to create a direct path from here to Kalamazoo Water Authority. And this new sewer system and lift station would allow the opportunity for the township to have new developments tie into it. And I think the numbers I saw today were in excess of 300, 350 potential new tie-ins, which would be great for growth. It would also be great for existing businesses up and down Blue Star, like Ivy House, Penny Royal, that all are right now relying on a septic system. They could now move on into the system that we would be designing for. The idea of the community is that we're looking to do smaller square footages, so we can come in at a lower price point than what is in the marketplace and around right now. My initial goal with this, in terms of who the residents would be individuals who have lived in town, who are living in maybe a relatively old 30, 40, 50-year-old ranch. They've done well with their land values. They want to stay in the community, but they need something that's in their price point. And I'm not speaking $1 million. I'm not talking $700,000 a year. Something that's downstream that they can sell their old ranch on their property and come into a new planned community that's walking distance to town. We have half the buildings will be able to have first floor masters should they choose. There'll be no step design. The typical footprint per floor is only 26 by 28 feet. So we're talking about a 1,400 square foot home. And we wanted to go with kind of more of a hamlet style community and design. So we focused in on Scandinavian. And so we had an interior designer come up with renderings. These are the actual footprints of the buildings. To save space, we duplexed them, put the garages together, which say every time we did that, it saved us 10 to 15 feet of green space that we would have had to have between them. And by putting them together, the garages, we're not eliminating any natural light that would be coming in to the individual's condo units or homes. Some of them are standalone, some of them are duplexes. Toward the north of the property, this one here is actually a 4-unit, where there's 2 in the front and 2 in the back. And then we have a couple set of duplexes that are front to rear toward the back as well. The initial engineering right now is requiring a on-site detention, which you'll see marked in blue. It's not a pond, it would be retained green space. And then, as I mentioned, toward the northeast corners and in the center of the property would be more the community features for people who live there to be able to be outdoors, entertain, socialize. So as we got down the road with the plan and the design, we then brought the issue of the sewer and water up. And so we've been working closely with the township to figure out a plan for this, where it could go. There are 2 sites. One is at the far northwest corner of the property. The other is at the southeast corner of the property. And the engineers right now are trying to do their best to figure out which of those 2 locations would be best. But then that brings us to the next part of the discussion, which is funding such an expensive endeavor. Not only does it service this community, but it would again service several hundred more potential developments or homes or businesses throughout the Blue Star corridor. Daniel asked me to come in and discuss a little bit of how an approach that we can use with that. And that is why Ryan is here. Ryan has worked directly with the state to have them adjust or change and modify existing laws they have in terms of how infrastructure improvements can be handled and financed. So I will let him take over on that slide.
Good evening, thanks for the time, it's a pleasure being here just a couple of weeks ago to talk about attainable housing and smaller footprints. So glad to be back again. I'm the owner of Flywheel Community Development Services. We primarily support local municipalities who are thinking about more workforce and attainable housing, as well as housing at all price points. And part of the issue that we have with new housing construction is it's always expensive to build brand new. And one of the biggest expenses is infrastructure, right? So generally what we're finding across West Michigan is new infrastructure costs about $1,300 a linear foot. We're talking about new sewer and water and roads. So if you think about 100 feet of frontage, it's $130,000 just to put in the pipes and pave the road. And that's not counting for lift stations that we sometimes have to install. So sewer is always gravity, unless we have a mechanical thing that's gonna pump up in order to get it back downhill to the treatment. So that's what we're facing here is a lift station is necessary and it's an expensive piece of equipment. But the value of that expensive piece of equipment is it can serve not just this particular property, it can provide a public benefit for dozens of properties along Blue Star Highway as well as along Blue Valley. So the question becomes how do we pay for it, right? Do we force future homeowners to cover all of the expense? And that expense is about $1.8 million. So that's adding tens of thousands, if not $100,000 to each of those future homeowners' price tags. Or do we find another mechanism that allows us to provide a slightly more affordable price point over a longer period of time? And so that's where this concept of tax increment finance comes into play. So since the 1970s, Michigan has had laws on the books that allow for tax increment finance. And basically what that is when new development occurs, it creates new tax revenue as a result. And so it's not revenue that existed before. It's because somebody built something there, new revenue was created that goes to the local jurisdiction, to the state, to the county, to any local millages. And the tax increment finance law allows a portion of that new tax increment that is generated as a result of development to be captured and used for very specific expenses, primarily expenses that benefit the public. Right? Generally, it's not an expense that goes direct to the developer or direct to the end user. It's no, we have defined a very clear public benefit like infrastructure. Or sometimes it's related to brownfield remediation, light removal, or historic preservation. Those are all considered to be public benefits. So in this instance, we've had legislation on the books for a long time that allowed for properties that had contamination to pay for new infrastructure. But you couldn't do it on a greenfield property, this property that has no contamination. As of 2024, we got new legislation enacted that allows for greenfield property to capture tax income to pay for public infrastructure. So this is a brand new law. We've used it a couple of times. We did a project up in Holland with the city of Holland, where we paid for new infrastructure to serve 216 new residential units. That's now been in place for 5 or 6 years. We did another one in partnership with Habitat for Humanity that's provided their infrastructure. And now under the new law, you can also use TIP for some other expenses related to housing. So if you have a future development where you want to support not just the infrastructure, but also the housing, that's possible. So long story short, the opportunity here with this particular project is we estimate 36 homes are going to generate somewhere around $198,000 in additional revenue at the local level, right? So what's important to know is you can capture both state and local taxes. Sometimes the state chooses to participate, sometimes they don't. We have to ask, they have the ability to say no. But the locals can always participate if they want to. So we can capture up to $198,000 a year to pay for the cost of some of that infrastructure. That then has the public benefit to all of those property owners along Blue Star Highway, as well as the property owners. We would anticipate the total cost of this to be fully reimbursed over the course of 15 to 20 years, kind of depending on how quickly the development moves. But what it does is it enables additional development up and down Blue Star Highway, and so it likely catalyzes a lot more economic development. So a couple of important points to note. The Tri-Community Plan, which is something I got to be involved in a long time ago when I was a planner with the city of Douglas, really calls for the vast majority of new development happening in the township to happen west of Blue Star, or west of the highway, right? And along Blue Star Highway or near Blue Star Highway. So by allowing that installation of the lift station, as well as the new sewer line, what you're doing is really enabling the future land use plan and the long-term master plan for the community to be enacted, so that you don't have all this demand and pressure for growth on the east side of the highway. You can really allow more of that growth to occur right here where you have all the infrastructure. And so we don't yet have the plan put together yet. We're really here for the first time tonight to explain how the concept works. The process would be we would work together to draft the plan with township staff. The township doesn't have a brownfield authority, so we would go to the county. Allegan County has a brownfield authority. We would request their support in the plan. But they will rely on your recommendation, right? So the county won't consider something that the township stay away. And so this is just a preliminary conversation where we want to be aware we're going to start this process. Some dollars will have to be spent to go through the planning endeavor. And we want to be sure that if you have any questions or concerns, we can talk about those tonight before we get too far down.
Welcome back. You may remember speaking to us about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We go way back. So I did have a question. Maybe I've just been confused up to this point because we talked a lot about this. I came to your presentation of the planning commission. So this plan is on the east or west side of
The east side.
This is on the east side, the northeast part of the roundabout.
because you kept referring to west.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
west of the
confused-
highway, not Blue Star, west of Highway 196.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
But I thought this was east side. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for clarifying. And just a comment. Think about some Singapore homes. You kind of got me right on, I forget what exactly you said, but that was kind of my situation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Yeah,
the no
that's-
step
that's a
design
good thought.
important,
Right.
and half of these, any of the ones that you see that are connected
right,
can be converted into first floor master, so all of the living space
right.
essentially would be there. You would have a second level bonus room, whatnot, but you'd have the first level being your all the living. So what you see here are the garages.
Right.
We designed it so the garages can be converted to first floor masters. And then you have outdoor parking.
No, and as you know, Daniel and I both on the TIF call 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, a few weeks ago.
Right, but we're excited to be able legally to get involved with the TIF. And you said it only, the law only changed last year. It used to be only for commercial development. That's right.
So this is between Capizio and Old Gallagher, right? Am I thinking correctly? Okay, that's what I just, yes, okay.
Was that your question?
Yeah, that's what I was, you know,
Just wanna make sure.
I know there was stuff going on, talked about, so. It's kind of nice how you got the garages, I mean, great for sound, you know.
Soundproofing for everyone. Again, doing it that way instead of putting the taller parts of the building together to keep natural light going through. And I started mentioning that, we had all the trees marked. Our plan only requires, I think, 6 of the larger trees to actually come down, which is a microscopic number. So I have coffee every day, outside coffee, and I'm seeing what's going on with Center Collective. And they're just clear cutting everything. And I'm sitting there looking at this like, oh my gosh.
So on this property, that's 6 of how many?
We marked, I think, 50.
Okay.
50 that were
That's
over
curious.
12 inches and only 6.
We're big on tree preservation.
Yeah, and this property is very unique in that right along Blue Star, which people don't know, there's 2 American chestnuts that are still fruiting there. It's a very rare tree.
Oh,
So those are notated on our site plan, and they are not to be touched through this whole process as well. So, yeah, there's just too many. So the great part about this property is that the north borderline, they planted these massive pines years ago, and those are right on the property line. So those will remain. And then along Blue Star with Appleton, that part into the south west is all wetland. So all of that coverage is still gonna be there. So this is gonna be just tucked into existing mature environment. The low visibility from the road. So that's our goal with this.
I think I wrote it down, but this, how many units is this?
We're hoping for 36,
36.
between 34 to 36, somehow.
And I know you wanna keep the costs low, do you have any idea what a unit or a home may?
We haven't finalized pricing. We are still trying to find out if there are any grants that can assist us. And this tip discussion is another part, because to Ryan's point, so with the lift station, sewer, roads, underground utilities, we're over $3 million. That's almost $100,000 per house, just that, not mentioning land and vertical build. So if we can work on getting the TIF program for this, it can help us keep some of these units at a lower price.
It'd be nice to have something that, service industry could be able to purchase. In the area, I know it's a problem.
Well, and this also, again, the lift station and sewer opens up the potential for other developments. I own 14 acres right next door to this property. That might be a very good fit for future affordable housing as well, because it was a much lower cost entry point and it wouldn't require the lift station because it would already be there. So that could be another potential thing to discuss once this is down the road.
We're anxious to hear more. Thank you for being here, and we'll be following this and happy to learn more about your project. Any more questions for Mr. Walker or Mr. Kilpatrick?
I would add, just to kind of gauge everyone's response, because to move forward with TIF financing for this project, we are going to ask the county if they also would be on board. And we could capture some of the county taxes to finance the infrastructure. And I think that when we go talk to the county, they're also kind of interested in gauging the temperature of this board to see if that's something of interest. Because really what we're talking about is a role the township could play in keeping the cost of development down and then passing along that cost savings to home buyers. Because it is very expensive to construct new developments, and that results in high home costs. So, TIF gives the township an ability to partner with the developer and attempt to create more of an attainable housing development. And right now what you see is not accomplishable without extending that infrastructure. So without sewer, you're talking about huge areas that are going to be dedicated to septic fields, and then huge areas that are dedicated to retention areas. So what John Walker was able to accomplish here was, imagining that the wastewater is going to go into a sewer system, so we eliminate the septic field. And then he's also able to tie into some existing county drains, which eliminates the need for large retention areas. But you do see that on other projects. So this kind of project that maintains all of this natural area is not possible without the extension of infrastructure. So, it's important to keep that in mind, that like if we want to see developments that are a little, are more dense or more closely packed together and that save a lot of green space, the only way to accomplish that is to extend the infrastructure. And in this case, the infrastructure is somewhat close by, but it's going to take some effort to design and extend, and quite a bit of money to extend. And if we were to just allow the developer to figure out that financing, those homes would be a lot more money because they would pass that cost along to the developer. So if we could look at a TIF option and help the developer with that cost by really just giving back the money or the taxes that the additional taxes that the new development is generating, we could help keep the cost down for the developer or reimburse them. And then that cost savings would be passed along to future home buyers. And then we're also looking at a development that we'd probably discuss that we wouldn't like to see any short-term rentals. so that these would all be like full residence or long-term rentals. So just to, just kind of give you that context and see if like this is something of interest to the township board that you would like staff to continue to pursue, and then also talk to the Allegheny County commissioners and let them know that this is something of interest. We don't know all the details, so that all has to be ironed out, but at least we can say, yes, the township is interested in pursuing this option. We do want to see more affordable housing come into the community. This is a tool for doing it, and we'd like the help of the county.
If I may,
Yes.
try to make this simpler, and if I'm wrong, correct me. The thing about the TIF process, as we've heard, it's only recently been allowed for housing. So if there's a property that's currently assessed at $100,000 taxable value, that's what they're paying us. If after this development happens and it's sold as a home, a new home, higher taxable value, the township for a number of years, which will be negotiated up front, will get paid based on the 100,000. So we don't lose any money,
Oh, that's good to know.
but the extra goes into like a TIF fund to help with infrastructure and development. As I said, that's negotiable, 5 years, 10 years. What's the longest you've ever heard?
So the legislation only allows up to 30 years.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's all part of it.
That's
So
good to
the
know.
point is, we don't lose
Right.
anything. Keep getting what we've been getting until the end of the term. But it allows us.
It's good to
Try to make it simple.
That's pretty good.
You're so detailed, but
Yeah, that's pretty
I
good.
want to make it simple because, and it's so exciting. And I keep saying this, but it's never been available to us until last year. So. Thank you, guys. That's my.
No, that was a very good subject.
It looks like we have consensus, that would like Daniel to take a, manager DeFranco to take a deeper dive into this,
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Thank you.
Mr. Patrick.
Appreciate it.
Anything else? Any last thoughts or?
The only thing that I would say is that as infrastructure becomes available, we've got goals along those. We'd love to be helpful in helping the township to achieve those goals, right? Once the infrastructure is available, it gets much easier to dream and scheme about what are the things that you really want to see there, whether it's attainable housing or more jobs for local folks. All of that becomes much more possible as a result of the infrastructure.
How about a senior center?
Yes, interesting.
My background was affordable housing, so I, for 15 years, was building affordable housing, bedroom, shelters, veterans housing. And then moved out here a couple of years ago with my family and kind of had to reposition myself, and I'm very excited to. Again, that little project was fantastic. We worked on, we got that approved last night. That's going to be workforce housing, apartment, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms. This is going to be great. I don't know if it's going to be considered affordable housing, but it's going to be a lot more reasonable than what you're seeing trading these days in the township. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, that brings us to our third presentation. Our own Tony Shippa is here to give us an update on the Heart Safe community efforts we have been so busy with.
Hello,
Hello.
thank you for letting me be here again, and Danny, keep track of my time, but I get
I will.
and I will shut her down. Just a little introduction for myself, if I may, for the people that don't know me, my name is Tony Shippa. I am a I've lived here in Saugatuck area for 54 years. I worked in EMS for 35 years at street level. I started my EMS career with Saugatuck Fire back in 1982. I served there for 25 years. In that 25 years, I was a first responder. I ended up being the medical director of that program for 18 years. I eventually became a paramedic, went to work in Fenville on the ambulance service down there. I worked there for 20 years as lead paramedic. And this is where my passion grows from wanting to start a Saugatuck Douglas. It's actually a tri-community. I like to get that in there, but don't quite fit. But in the tri-community area, that we have a heart safe community. And what does that involve? That involves me teaching people getting them over the hurdle of anxiety of calling 911, starting CPR, using an AED without hesitation in the first 3 to 5 minutes of a sudden cardiac arrest. And if we can do that, we double and triple the chance of survival for that person. That person could be one of your loved ones. If we may go to the next page, please. Heart Safe Initiative, Heart Safe, what is it? The Heart Safe community focuses on saving lives with hands-only CPR training, AED access, and heart health programs to strengthen the chain of survival. Our purpose, our single most important objective of the Tri-Community Heart Safe program is to save lives for those experiencing sudden cardiac arrest, whose life status may depend on early intervention in CPR and AED use. I won't read all of those. I do have this information available to be in the foyer back there, a little brochure that you can pick up. Next page. Here's some interesting information for people to understand and learn. And the general public do not know this. If we look at that 70% on that screen, what that is, 70% of out-of-hospital cardiac arrest happen in the home. Part of our initiative is to work with, if we look to the right, only 40, up there it says 40% of the people who experience out-of-hospital cardiac arrest, they don't receive help immediately. They wait for the first responders to arrive or the paramedics to arrive. Average response time for the fire department for first responders in our community is 6.5 minutes to 6 minutes to 40 seconds. The ambulance can be at that same time period or even longer, even an hour away, depending on how busy that system is. And what we do in our initiative is we teach you hands-only CPR. And it says right there, hands-only CPR has been shown to be as effective as in the first few minutes as conventional CPR for cardiac arrest at home or at the workplace. Conventional CPR is rescue breathing and then chest compressions. We don't have to rescue breathe anymore. They figured it out. There's 4 to 6 minutes of oxygen here that we can circulate without rescue breathing. And we get that AED there, and that first 3 to 5 minutes, again, we double and triple the chance of survival for that person. If we turn the page again, AED facts, early defibrillation. We talk about more than 50% of out-of-hospital cardiac arrest happen in public locations. Our initiative, we're going to be trying to raise money to put AEDs out in the community. Saugatuck Township and the city of Saugatuck and the city of Douglas. We have been at the Music in the Park multiple times this summer. April, the lady that runs that, puts that together. After about our third visit, she came up, she talked to us multiple times. She came up to me, she said, I never realized there's not an AED here on site for this park. And she was quite surprised. There's several hundred people there. That is a public event where there could be, and someday there will be a cardiac arrest at that Music in the Park. No AED available. One of my first things I want to do when we raise the money is put an AED at Wicks Park with an outdoor box.
Could you just mention what the AED stands for and the function of it?
The AED is an automated external defibrillator. I should check, make sure that this one's gonna work. So what it looks like in the case, very simple to use. You open it. Fix this. The most important thing about AED is push the on button, turn it on. It will tell you what to do if you never worked with it. This is a semi-automatic AED. How do I know? It's got a lightning bolt right here on this button. You turn it on, it tells you what to do. You put a pad here, put a pad here. It'll tell you, do not touch the patient, assessing. It'll assess the electrical activity in the heart. If it needs to shock the patient, it will tell you shock advised, and you have to push that button. This machine cannot shock without you pushing a button. If you don't push it within, I believe it's 30 seconds, it dissipates the charge, so it's not there any longer. So, machines are very easy and safe to use. They're very reliable. And we need more of these out in the community. That's why there's issues going. Yes, sir. Well, if you look it up, the statistics say that 0.002% across the nation are they ever messed with. People don't mess with them. For some reason, they don't. And But yeah, it's a very small percentage that that's gonna happen. And that part, you know. And our initiative, what we're looking to do is buy an outside box that will hold that AED. It's hooked up to electricity. It's got a line to the Alex Central Dispatch. If you pull that AED out, it takes your picture in 3 different ways. It notifies the fire department, the police department, and so they know if it's been tampered with or messed with. And it monitors the heat, the cold, keeps it heat, it keeps it the right temperature all winter long. They're outdoor boxes. We're looking to get those too, and that information is factored in the foyer also. Any more questions about the AED? Okay. If we go down to more stats, this is an interesting thing. This stuff is right from the American Heart Association. 9 out of 10 cardiac arrest victims who receive a shock from an AED in the first minute they live. We're talking about the sudden cardiac arrest. If I go unresponsive right here in front of all of you, somebody start chest compression, somebody call 911, get that AED, put it on me. Got it turned on, I will more than likely survive that cardiac arrest if we can do that in the first minute. It's gonna be pretty hard for us to have enough AEDs that there's an AED within 30 to 45 seconds of somebody going into cardiac arrest or going unresponsive. Our initiative is to get them as many as we can in the community within 2 to 3 minutes. That's just a block and a half or 2 blocks away that is available for us. We go to the next slide. This is the adult chain of survival. And what I do for this initiative, I've been a CPR instructor for 45 years. I teach a 1-hour free CPR class. I teach you hands-only CPR. I teach you how to use an AED. And that's where we are at, is those first 3 chains of survival. We're calling when we recognize there's a problem. We start CPR and we get that AED as soon as we can and turn it on and apply it to that person. And I'll say it again, if we can do that, and our target number is 3 to 5 minutes. We can do that in the first 3 to 5 minutes. We double and triple the chance of that person's survival. Just a quick note, Damar Hamlin, how many people know Damar Hamlin? The football player, the young man, went into cardiac arrest on the field. They talk about the highly trained personnel that saved his life. But you know what they did? They did the first 3 chains of survival is what saved his life. I read his report, I read the medical stuff on it. They recognized, called for help, they started chest compressions, and they shocked him. That's what brought him back to life. There was a lot of hype for 6 or 8 weeks at the hospital monitoring him and all that good stuff. But the first 3 chains of that survival was what did it. And that's us right here. I'm looking to make it that when you go into cardiac arrest, there's somebody in this community, knows CPR next to you and is willing to do it for you. And I have actually taught 184 people since March CPR in this community. People want to know this and help. Next one, please. Now, I know a lot of people are worried about liability. Can I be sued in this process? They have what they call the Good Samaritan Law. Michigan has it as a Michigan Compiled Law, MCL 691.1504. You may look it up. It's about 6 pages long, but the very first page shows you right there. An individual having no duty to do so, which is you guys or me, in good faith, voluntarily renders CPR, you cannot be held liable if that does not turn out right. People are worried about, what if I break their ribs? What if this happens or that happens? Come to understand, that person there unresponsive in cardiac arrest is dead. Not going to survive if you don't do anything. And the rib breaking, what it actually is, in my experience, is where the ribs separate from the breastbone. Those knuckles that are right there where your ribs are, that's what pulls apart. That's what gives you the sound of breaking bones. And I get the willies every time I talk about it. I've done it many times. Once you separate that, chest compression getting a lot easier. Okay, and individual having no duty to act or and the individual having no duty to do so in good faith, rendering emergency services using an automatic external defibrillator. If I pull that off the wall for one of you, put it on you, and you don't survive, I can't be sued because I use that. If it fails, you can't be sued if you use that. They are protecting us. They want us. They don't want us to hesitate to start CPR and to use an AED. Use it, cannot be sued. They talk about the people who own them, the township here, they have an AED there. If they neglect to monitor that, make sure the battery's up, and all they have to do is look at it, and it says, okay, I'm ready to go. If they fail to do that, the battery is dead, they go to use it, they find this was neglected, they can't be sued. They want us to have it. Yes, they failed in their moral support of that machine, but they can't be sued because it didn't work. So that takes the fear of having that and using that machine. The next slide. We're always calling for volunteers. If anybody would like to volunteer for this, we'd be glad to hear from you. But as we look here, our program focuses on increasing access to AEDs, CPR, and AED training. And that is a free class that I put that out on. Okay, you come for an hour, it's signed up for an hour, but we get talking, as you can tell, it's probably gonna take a little longer than an hour. We wanna raise the awareness of what individuals can do in this community to help each other. Okay? And we are a 501c. If you wish to donate to us, it can be a charitable donation. You can get a receipt for that. And then the last page, that's a letter to Chief Janik, Fire Department. They asked the Citizen CPR Foundation, who guides us to become a designated heart-safe community, asked that the local fire department be a lead sponsor. That's the letter to the chief that he said that will ask him if he would be, and he agreed. The fire department is our lead sponsor, and they help us out in different things. But we have got many ideas where AEDs should go out in this community. Like I say, which part? We're looking at Rooker Barrel. We're looking at downtown Saugatuck, out here at the Shell station or the Doomsview gas station. There, just most any place where there's people, large quantity, a lot of people showing up at one time or another. And even think about the subdivisions that we have. I look at Dunegrass. Dunegrass response time for the fire department is 8 to 10 minutes, and probably longer with the traffic. Some people have a cardiac arrest out there, and that fire department can't get there. They're going to do CPR for quite a while without an AED. Places like that need AEDs. We got other subdivisions that could use AEDs. Subdivision associations could get together and pitch in and have one put in a stand in this weatherproof box that it could be out there. Looking at the golf course, the back, how many guys play golf? Back 90 front line, ought to have an AED out there. We have formed our committee. We got 12 people that are with us right now that are volunteering. We have a program advisor, director. We have a young lady who is a CPA, MBA, who's handling our finances. We have a fundraising chair lady, Patty Beery. She owns a little store downtown. Community outreach. We are working with the Allegheny County Health Department. They're part of this. They offer funding. They just printed a whole bunch of flyers for us. That's very helpful. I'm the training chairperson. I do all the CPR training at this time. Wendy Bale is on the fire department. She's here, and we have a number of volunteers from the community, and our youngest one is 13 years old. But yeah, if you guys are interested, want to know more information, I have some flyers at the foyer back there, and I have laid out the prices, what it costs to install an AED. If you were to do an outdoor AED with the outdoor box, installation, belt pads, electrical hookup, and that has the 4G capability, so it can monitor that through a computer, get a hold of 911, etc. That costs $3,700 to do that. This one here is set in here with the box and the AED, the little first aid kit, and adult pads. That's $1,500 basically. But that's, to me, being an EMS, I've been in a lot of situations where families would have paid a lot of money for help to be there and so on. And the thing about helping people, my goal here is the passion that I have come to find, what I want our community to be known I want our community to be known as a community who cares for every heart that's here. And that our community members are willing to take the time to learn CPR and not hesitate to use it. And I invite each and every one of you to be part of this. My number's on the paperwork back there, and I hope that I hear from some of you. Thanks, you guys.
Well done, Tony. Thank you. Treasurer's report.
So Tony's a hard act.
I know, right? Won't be as heartwarming, but.
Although I will be more brief.
Okay.
So, anyway, first of all, the introduction, we're only, this is the third month of the new fiscal year. And you may have known, the community may have known, we, some troubles when our server went down, tax bills were mailed out late, so everything's a little behind, so. But it still is a picture. So cash on hand, we have $271,000 in our general fund bank account, and that's lower if you're paying attention. We usually kept around $1 million in there. We've always liked to have 6 to 12 months of operating expense in the bank, which is about twice what's recommended by the Michigan Township Association. So this is not a concern. And in fact, last week, as you know, we participate. My class is the municipal investment pool. That money's fully liquid. I did move some of that out temporarily because we're behind getting our admin fees from taxes. And so we lost. How long was the server down? 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, it was tough. So it's not. It's all good. So on the in terms of through August 31st, revenues coming in are about almost 11% below budget. And that's, as I said, due to timing differences. For example, our trustee salaries are paid quarterly, how we post interest and revenues away. Expenses are behind by almost 6%. So it's a good start to the fiscal year. Just want to note, within the revenue side, all of our permit lines are running at least 32% ahead of budget. We also received a refund from the state of $64,000 last month. Oh, that was for the Township Hall and Housing Study. Total of $13,000. So tax year 2025, we're into it, as I've already said. Tax bills went out late, but payments are coming in. Better be than due next week. And we've made our first 2 disbursements to people that we turn most of the money over to, like the schools, like the county. So the disbursements, which we'll be approving in consent agenda for the month, are $1,500,985. On the investment side, which I referred to, at the end of the month, we're at 7.6 million. We are now counting our cash in hand in that total. So the investments themselves are about $300,000 less. Very, very healthy. One decision to make coming up soon, expiring. Maturing. Same difference, right? A maturing investment. Let's see. No, that's it. That's it. So yeah, it's a slow start, but we're still in a very solid place.
Thank you, Treasurer Allen. Clerk Osmond, do you have a planning commission report?
I do. The planning commission on August 19th gave a preliminary approval to change the ownership of the simple ownership to a condominium. Gave preliminary approval to that with 5 cabins at Pine Trail Camp. Then we had a presentation from Ryan Kilpatrick, and more interesting, the Zoning Board of Appeals overturned the Planning Commission's decision on whether or not Blue Star Bend was an office facility or not. And because of case law, they did overturn that decision to the Planning Commission, so that will be going back to Planning Commission.
What was the vote?
The vote
But ZBA.
But the ZBA was unanimous.
No,
Yeah, it was unanimous.
and the two mixed up. Thank you for passing. Manager's report.
We're a little behind, so I'm gonna keep it short. Two things I wanna highlight. The first thing is that the state had set up a rural prosperity office, which is great because it focuses on providing support and funding to rural communities, and we are a rural community. They established a rural readiness grant program, which we submitted a letter of interest to see if we could get some funding to help with planning and early designs for infrastructure extension of sanitary and stormwater sewer along Blue Star Highway from 134th Avenue down to Maple Street, and then also a redesign of Blue Star Highway. So we would have paved shoulders, we'd have curb and gutter, we would have sidewalks, we'd have crosswalks, we'd have streetscapes. So to do that, all that work, because we're not just thinking about extension of infrastructure or supporting existing and future development, but we're also interested in creating a pedestrian-oriented, livable neighborhood. So that takes a lot of work, and I know that, this body has been very interested in safety on Blue Star and streets in general. We've done a lot of planning work. This is moving some of that planning work into the actual design phase. So I am preparing that grant. I still have some work to do. It's due on September 15th, but it would provide, it's $50,000 from the state and then a 20% required match. So that definitely gets the ball rolling. So I think that was very positive news. The state encouraged us to apply for the full grant. And then kind of some fun things. We've been working with the Saugatuck Douglas History Center. So we're organizing, I forget what we're exactly calling it. I think it's called like Cemetery Come Alive, but we're organizing a living history walking tour of Riverside Cemetery, which is located just across the road. So the History Center is going to be coordinating and having local actors stand by the graves of noteworthy Saugatuck Douglas residents and reenact their lives. And we'll have some tour guides and some cider and donuts and just kind of introduce people to the history of Riverside Cemetery. So we think it's going to be a great event. That's going to be from 5 to 7 on October 24th. And we're also interested in volunteers. So if you have any questions for any of the other items, but I think those are kind of the highlights.
Okay. That brings us to item number 4, which is public comment. Please know, audience, that we do have a public hearing regarding the Singapore Retreat PUD. So that would be the best time to speak to that item. You could, I guess, speak at both or speak at all 3. Public comment in the beginning, at the end, and during the public hearing, but those comments are most appropriate for that time. During public comment, if you're speaking on behalf of just yourself, an individual, the time limit is 3 minutes. Morgan will be keeping time for us. If you're speaking on behalf of a group, it's 5 minutes. And please also know that this is not a question answer session with the board. It is simply a time for you to be heard and considered. Is there anybody in the front row that would like to speak during public comment? Okay, the second row. Third row. 4. Just raise your hand if you'd like to speak. Come on, we will get to everybody. Please state your name and address.
My name is Megan Meepa, 3525 Wayside Lane. It is about what you said to comment about the Singapore, I believe, housing, but I want to, as an attorney, I want to listen. I want to tell you my thoughts. I want to listen to what they say, and then I want to have a chance to come up again.
Sure.
Like as a prosecutor, like the rebuttal argument.
Sure.
Okay. And I am just becoming aware of it, but obviously by my address, this will closely affect me. I'm adamantly opposed to it. As a prosecutor, I've been doing that for 17 years. And what I've noticed in my work, from being up in Northern Michigan to all over the state, I'm not going to state where I am now, the more people equals more crime. And we do have Douglas that just approved a big housing community, and they do have a police officer there. So my suggestion would be, let's see how it plays out there, when they already have a police officer in place, to see how that goes. I'm highly concerned about that. I don't think we have the infrastructure. I don't think we should be paying for developers to have sewer and water to make it easier for people to come in. We came here for peace and quiet and for the community the way it was. And on my way here today, I saw 4 deer, and I know deer are a hot topic too, but I thought to myself, I took a picture. I saw a 10-point buck on my way home yesterday, right by the medical center, and on the way here, right out from Clearbrook, I saw 4 deer. I'm like, this is going to be ruined by this community, what they're proposing. I was kind of impressed and was glad I was here for the beginning to see the lengths that they talked about in that first development, to say that they weren't going to cut down trees and the aesthetics, and those were 36 single-story houses. The effect that it's going to have on our neighborhood and this community is just very detrimental. I'm asking you not to do it just on a crime alone. And I can speak to it because I live it every single day. And once you do it, you can't undo it. So when you're thinking about sewer and water, start thinking about the tons of police. We have 8 to 10 minutes for a heart attack right now. I can't imagine what the time limit's going to be for that amount of people. It's not feasible. I'm urging you not to do it. If you are thinking about doing it in the future, you do have kind of a test run over again in Douglas, see how it works out there. I don't think it's going to work out well. And if somebody that's going to, this is an impact, I'm asking you not to do it. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anybody else in the audience? Yes, go ahead.
If there's anybody else that wants to talk about the Singapore, I think a lot of people are here.
Please go ahead and take the mic.
So,
My name is Stephen Chase. I live at 3565 65th Street, right near this dangerous intersection. Imagine you're a child, you're on your way for ice cream at Dairy Days. You're riding your bike with your family, and boom, run over by a car or a truck that's trying to navigate an extremely difficult intersection already. And you're not going to get the ice cream. You may be crippled for life, ill. We already have a dangerous situation, and adding more development on 135th is going to make it more dangerous. We have people working to make this a safer community for their heart, and you have a Safe Street initiative, while at the same time, you're making an already dangerous intersection more dangerous. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason that we have to rush ahead with more development on 135th. It can wait. I know you have problems with the state and the county road commission that you have to deal with, but we don't have to make it worse. Anyway, I like other people to talk. I've talked to a lot of people in the community about this, and interesting that even though it's not it's not a poll on Facebook, the comments and everything, there's not been one single comment that this is a great idea to make that dangerous intersection more dangerous. Even if you stop development, it's going to get more dangerous every single year. You're talking about sewer and water development to make it so we have more development along Blue Star, and I understand that, but these side streets coming in, each car trying to get onto Blue Star is like 20 cars already going up and down the road. Every time you add another car, it's exponential. It's not just doubling or tripling or quadrupling or approaches. There's some mathematical formula involving exponents and factorials and all that. But this interaction, it is extremely difficult. And if you add, well, when we first came here, just 65th Street had issues getting on the road. And now 135th coming from the west makes it much more complicated. If you have 135th coming from the east, it's just gonna be nightmare.
Fine.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Peck, and I am at 6473 Blue Star Highway at Saugatuck Township. And I agree with Stephen that Blue Star Highway is a very dangerous area, and the development, if you would think twice about the development, at 135th and 65th Street and Blue Star Highway, I think a roundabout would be perfect in this area. It's helped down there at Blue Star Highway and North Avenue when 2 women were killed coming through to Blue Star. It's only going to get busier. And now you're going to put a development here and possibly another development just a few miles down. There's 14 driveways from exit 41 to right here, exiting right now with people at Kingfish Cove, Hidden Dunes, Saugatuck, the Saugatuck RV Resort, Spectators, Dairy Queen, Holland Hospital Office, the Sanctuary Trail, Ivy's, and then if it ever comes to fruition of the brewery that's supposed to go in next to Ivy's. It's getting overcrowded and unsafe. So I don't know if the developer can work on, safety for Blue Star, lowering the speed limit to maybe 25, because I'm gonna go 35. But, and that's the state highway, so it's a little more difficult. But it's very dangerous, and we are very concerned at the RV resort coming out, Dairy Bays on the Fiji. People are parking on Blue Star Highway, as they do by Penny Royale, the issues there. So I would ask you to think twice about a big development with 30 or 36 houses next to each other. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jan Van Ens, and I live at 3535 65th Street. I've been a resident there for 45 years, and I've been in the area for 52 years. And over time, I've enjoyed the privacy and the beauty and the peacefulness of this green space and the wildlife in my yard. But that could soon come to an end, as my backyard and my stepson that was next to me would directly abut up to the proposed development on the western perimeter. And from our houses and our neighbors' houses, we would be looking at 10 duplexes and 2 townhouses. We need more housing, I agree with that, but we don't need this magnitude in this small 8-acre lot. The development will have a dramatic impact on the local environment with loss of green space and destruction of habitats. It's going to have a displacement of wildlife, and it's going to increase the pollution in Gashwan Creek. The surrounding infrastructure cannot currently support a development of the size. They came to me and asked if they could put a water line down through my property, and I said, absolutely not. I do not want to devaluate my property. And lastly, as everybody else has said, the safety is also threatened by this development. The 6-point intersection on Blue Star Junction cannot handle more traffic. And before this development can be considered, the intersection needs to be reworked to handle more traffic.
Carol Fay, lot 6473, lot 83, Blue Star. I remember it had been over 10 years ago that we were assessed by Saugatuck Township for the repair of the Gashford Creek. Because it had been filling in. So we had to pay for an assessment on this. I don't know if any of you remember or anybody else, but it was quite a lot of money. I had to finance it. I had to pay it off, so often. Anyway, where I saw Gashford Creek coming through there,
that's gonna happen again. It's gonna fill in that creek, all that runoff, that's gonna be dirt running off into the creek from this area. And we're gonna end up paying another assessment, maybe 10, well, hopefully, I might not be here 10 years down the road, but I would wish I would look into this because I remember paying a substantial amount of money on that project. So, and the danger. Try getting out of our driveway, turn left. You can't. Try turning into it left. And you're gonna get hit by people going around you on a white line. And they don't slow down. They're going 50 miles an hour around you. So it's gotta get safe. Someone's gonna get killed.
Hi, approach the podium. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Milgara. I live on 352 165th Street, and we've been residents there for 27 years on and off. Naturally, I'm concerned about the roundabout. My house is a little corner house there on that crazy interchange, which in proposal A is going to be wiped out. Now, I'm all for private property rights, and I'm not really against the development, but I would like to retain my private property rights and not have my house taken over with some easement. Besides, right now, my house is the only real affordable housing for my son in the township. And so I own the house, other house, 2 houses, several houses down. But really, there's really no really affordable housing. And so our extra little house is actually his place to live. So in terms of your solutions to the roundabout, I would suggest blocking off 65th Street and 135th Street. Don't give everybody a roundabout. Because not only that, our area is it's a very dog-friendly area, and there are a lot of people walking their dogs. And I know on 65th Street, a lady was hit 8 to 10 years ago walking her dog. And quite honestly, on a Saturday, Friday, and Sunday afternoon, I had nothing else to entertain but people leaving the golf courses all lit and doing 70 on that road. And so there are many things that we can do to change the ambiance in that area. And I think that shutting down those roads, 135th and 65th, would be doable. I'm most directly affected since it take me the longest time to get to my house, and I'm willing to sacrifice that for the safety of the community. But I'm not willing to sacrifice my private property interests. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Maria Miller. My mother was Linda Brooks. I lived at. I'm going to read this quickly. This is a personal statement, very dear to me. I agree with everyone I've already pointed out previously about the dangerous intersection, the Natural Creek, and our privacy. So this is going to be much more on a personal level. My mother always had so much pride living here in Saugatuck, and especially in her little neighborhood. She loved the fact that we were a part of one of the first diverse neighborhoods in the area. From politicians, entrepreneurs, teachers, and one of the main dentists in the town, all choosing to live and bring up families in this special little pocket of Saugatuck. She was proud. I'm sorry, I always get emotional. We have all stated why this large of a development is not right for this area. And I don't expect the land to remain undeveloped, but I can only hope that it helps grow the already rooted families who chose this place long before this project was even a thought. A development of this size will destroy this whole environment. No longer will this area be serene and private, but most importantly, you would be destroying what made our neighborhood so special. This. I am also sorry about this part. I'm also worried about my safety and liability increasing. I can't imagine having 50 to 100 people, families living directly behind me. As I said before, this takes up a lot of my backyard, most of the project does. I have the creek in my backyard. I feel random people, kids may wander or birds get hurt on my property. This is why I highly encourage this being a gated community if it goes through, and closing all of it to help protect the pre-existing residents, because I don't believe this is something us current residents should have to cover to protect our privacy and safety. And touchy subject, but I am worried about that many people having the right to own guns as well. This project of this size will change the whole dynamic of the area and not for the good. I'm also curious how you are going to regulate the amount of chemicals they use to maintain this and how you will protect the creek and our personal wells. I believe in growth, but not at the cost of others. Doing what is right is the key, not whoever has the most money.
My name is, Mary Alice Townsend. I live at 3488 64th Street. And I've been here for 40 years with my husband, Steve. And we're here tonight because this development poses serious safety concerns, both short and long term. All of us living in this neighborhood know the increased traffic on Blue Star creates perilous conditions when entering and exiting Blue Star. And there's multiple roads with navigation issues from now in adding a new development and long-term construction and trucks passing through. My question to you, what are the plans to address the construction for the next couple months or many months that they would be building? And the developer, how do you replace the hundreds of trees that they will be pulling out of that property that just came back from being leveled 20 years ago? And has the township consulted with an expert about the impact of the increased runoff and the retention pond? And at the very least, I would request a traffic study to be done on your to-do list. I'd like to propose that, but I thank you for your service to the township and for allowing us to talk. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Lynn Miller, 6473 Blue Star Highway, Unit 76. I'm really glad I came tonight because what I heard was a lot of good information regarding some of your attitudes toward development. I liked the presentation that Mr. Walker gave about saving trees, and I heard you say that you wanted to save as many trees as possible, and I think this is good for our community. I'm happy to hear that. My biggest concern is the roadway improvements, and that this is a very attractive place for developers to want to develop, and let's face it, they're making money. And we need to protect our interests and make sure that we're causing them to pay the price for some of the infrastructure improvements. So I would like to see some sort of roadway study for easements assessment, ease of access to the properties, as well as safety concerns. Some of my neighbors have brought up good points about policing, and we have these traffic concerns with little to no police available to make sure that drivers are obeying traffic laws in the first place. So there's a lot of things to unpack. I plan to stay for the whole presentation, but I just want to thank you for the responsible leadership that you're providing. I look forward to learning more about your plans for infrastructure.
Chrissy Clark, 3511 Whiteside Lane. I guess my concern is that we're cramming so much in at this end of Saugatuck. I moved here from Jacksonville Beach 6 years ago. It's a cement hellscape, and I don't want that for Saugatuck. It's so beautiful here, and people escape their cement hellscapes to come here and have a little nature and have some open space. And we've got the glamping going in, potentially a brewery, unless that's been stopped or whatever. We've got the Airstream thing. And then we're going to do this huge development on this little piece of property. We've already put the hospital in. Like, there's just too much going on. And we all did move here for the privacy and for a little space. And that's why we're on this side of Blue Star as opposed to downtown where, yeah, they've got their own issues down there. I don't want it to turn into that. I want it to stay this peaceful. I mean, I get growth has to happen, but it doesn't have to all happen in this one little pocket of area. So I just want y'all to take that into consideration. So, yeah, thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak at public comment? Keep in mind, there will be a time to speak at the public hearing dedicated to this subject and at the end. Pardon?
What is the public?
It's on the agenda. It's item number 2 under new business.
Oh, it's tonight.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Carol Schott. We've resided at 3486 65th Street for 30 years. We are currently building a house on, it'll be 6508 Shock Drive. And we love this community because of the way it is. My husband almost got hit 4 times walking our dogs on Salted Bed and around Clearbrook. So safety is a concern. Obviously, yes, but also the beauty. They are right. People come here because of the way it is. If I wanted to live in a big city, I'd move to Grand Rapids or Chicago. That's not why we chose to stay in the township. It's because of the way it is. So please keep that in mind. Don't turn it into a big city that can be ugly and unhappy. Thank you.
Do we have anybody participating online? If anyone on Zoom wants to participate, please raise your hand. Going once. Going twice. Okay. All right, keep in mind, you will have another chance to speak regarding the topic of Singapore retreat, PUD, during the public hearing. But I will go ahead and close the public comment section. And
It's a little chilly in here, isn't it?
And we'll go ahead and move on to item number 5 on tonight's agenda, which is approval of the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda as
I have something.
okay, sorry.
So if I did not get our clean grant agreement in, so we can remove item 6D from operations. So I think it's 6D, Safe Streets Grant for All Agreement. And then we can also
That was
remove,
under the consent agenda.
that's on the consent agenda. And then we can also remove item 13.3, progressive proposal. And that will just come back next month, we'll have
We
it.
just didn't have that.
Yeah, we didn't get it in time.
Okay. So we are going to strike 6D and 13.3. Someone like to move to approve the agenda as amended.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
We have a motion and support. We have a motion and support. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Agenda has been approved. That brings us to tonight's consent agenda. I trust everyone has had a chance to look over all of those items. And left, we need to, unless one of the trustees desires to pull something out and discuss it further, I would entertain a motion to up to tonight, consent agenda.
I want to pull one thing out, just
Okay.
for editing. It says no disbursements were made, and as I reported, this is the one. The disbursements were made about $1,585,900. Who knows even though?
Right.
So if you make that change, then I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Give motion. Chair Homer, is there support? Support. Motion and support, further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries 4-0. That brings us to, we don't have any, items, under 7 through 12, so we are going to, skip to new business, number 13, which is appointments. We have appointments tonight for the fire board, the library board, and the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority. I understand that these are all reappointments. These are all people who have been serving, the community very well. So that we should be able to get through that quite quickly. Let's see which one is first. Fire board. Daniel, do you want to kick off this discussion or perhaps trustee Aldrich?
No, you can go.
No, I just wanted to say Eric Beckman has applied for reappointment. He's been on there, I think, 18 years. I've worked with him as another member on the fire board. I highly recommend him. He does a fantastic job, and I can't even imagine anyone doing any better and have the knowledge that he has. So I would hope that he would be appointed.
Thank you, Trustee Aldrich. It's helpful. We are thankful for Mr. Beckman's service. And Chief Janik has also supported that reappointment. So if there's nothing further, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Eric Beckman to the fire board.
That's support.
She's just gonna restate
I'm
it.
gonna restate it. Move to approve the appointment of Eric Beckman to the fire district board for a term set to expire on October 2031.
We have 31. So when we already.
Yeah, that's support.
Okay. We have motion and support. Further discussion? And we thank Mr. Beckman for his service. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. That brings us to library board. Again, we have Mr. Blatt, who is wanting to be considered for reappointment. Daniel, do you want to talk a little bit about? It's my understanding that Mr. Blatt has also been on the library board for quite some time.
He has been on the library board for quite some time. I'm not sure how long he's served, but he continues to want to serve. Just knowing him from the community, he's just an amazing individual. Gives a lot back to the community. He's a volunteer for the fire district. He did come to your workshop yesterday. So he wanted to make sure that you knew how serious he was and committed he was to the library board, but he could not be here this evening.
Any other comments about Mr. Blatt and his
Just that he's.
seeking reappointment?
He's really
Public servant.
Yeah, he's amazing. Yeah.
He does a lot of volunteer for the fire department as well, so, he's just a valued community member that he enjoys this, and I think it's great he wants to continue serving.
Excellent.
So I would like to move to the appointment of David Blatt to the library board for a term set to expire on October 31st, 2021.
We have a motion for support. Support. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Our last appointment is also a reappointment. Mr. Dick Boskin is seeking reappointment for the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority.
As is Holly.
Oh, Adam Holly, sorry, thank you very much for your cover. Any things to consider, comments on these reappointments?
And I can say from serving with them on the Harbor Authority, they're both incredibly dedicated to it. Holly brings just an amazing knowledge base because she works for Best Chance Fishing Charter. So she knows, she's intimate with the harbor itself and very passionate about it. And Dick also very dedicated, very passionate about it. So I know that they both would like to continue, and I think that they would serve the township well as our representatives on the Harbor Authority.
Very fortunate to have so many great people willing to serve.
No, if I may, I'd
Yes,
like to approve the appointment of Dick Richard Watkins and Holly Engel, Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority, serve such a style on October 31st, 2029.
Support? I'll support that. Motion and support. The discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Again, we are very fortunate to have such talented and dedicated people willing to serve our community, even in long-term roles, and we are very thankful for that. So it brings us to number 4, number 2 under new business. Singapore Retreat PUD public hearing. I think the way that we will manage this item number is we will hear from the applicant. Then we will open it up I will go ahead and open up the public hearing. And then after that, we can have board deliberation and possible action.
Good evening, board members. My name is Todd Staggy. I'm with Excel Engineering, representing Randy Cucci is here with me tonight. We spoke a bit about Singapore retreat last month, just in general, so I'm not going to go into a lot more detail than I already have. This is a 9.3 acre parcel south side of 135th, just east of Blue Star, and it's zone R1 currently. We prepared a parallel plan or comparison plan, which is required under the PUD to show how many units could be developed under traditional zoning. It's basically a right plan. And that shows 14 duplex lots, which yields 28 units. However, the traditional development would have no open space, right? That's the trade-off with one of the trade-offs with the PUD. The PUD plan that is proposed shows 10 duplex buildings, 20 units in the duplex buildings. It shows 2 townhomes buildings with a total of 10 units. So a total of 30 units proposed. There are 2 from the comparison plan, which is allowed under the PUD, which is 7% request on the bonus. PUD plan shown here, you can see the darker area primarily along the perimeter. That's the open space area. There is 19 acres of open space area identified. That's the total, and that can take off with the ordinance doesn't allow credit for within the open space. Is 3.8 acres or 33%. Within the open space, we are calling for a pickleball court here. behind the townhomes. And, there's a nature trail that connects this area through this wooded area. The stormwater retention basin is also within that open space area, that lighter green. Several comments about Ashland Creek. This is a retention pond that provides an infiltration, so there will be no direct runoff into the creek. So all gets contained on the site and it's directed toward this basin. So can say with confidence that whatever concerns about Ashland Creek runoff and sediment, this site will not be added to that concern. There are sidewalks throughout the development, and we're proposing a sidewalk along the right line. From a utility standpoint, both sewer and water would be extended in 130 feet from the start. And just one change that we've made to the plan based on the last one, which we did increase the existing tree buffer there on the east side of that pond to 55 feet. It's 20 to be more consistent with what we're seeing here.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but because that was one of the questions I was going to ask. Is the retention pond now smaller? And did it go deeper? Do you have to?
At this point, without getting into the weeds, we're doing an infiltration test of the pond.
Right.
We used a very low infiltration rate because we didn't have any filtration test data. So the results of that will allow us to shrink that. We'll shrink it as much as we can, basically, but
So-
feel that we can shrink it that.
So as presented there, that's also 57 feet from the property line?
This is 57. We just picked 55 through here, but yeah, it's fine.
So is that the official plan we would be discussing and voting on tonight, actually?
Yeah. Or you can condition.
But not the one in,
It's not what was
it's
originally.
not the one that we have in our.
We made this after last meeting, so yes, but you could make that condition if that's what you want.
Well, thank you for making that. That was on my list to talk about.
So, yeah, that's, those are the basics of the plan. So we're here for questions and we're going to answer whatever we can. Appreciate it. Just one thing I think I forgot to bring. So that either 3 point in the open space area. So like I said, one of the benefits of a PUD versus the traditional development is everything can get compressed to a smaller area. We can save that 3.9 acres of open space and any trees associated. Now, the whole site is wooded, basically. So I think the difference between the Johnny Walker site and this is there were trees on the site, but the whole site wasn't. So you can't develop a site without taking some trees down. So we're preserving the trees, I would say, except for the retention pond area, that has to come in. And we've got a landscape plan that shows what trees would be replaced. Street trees, trees between the homes, in front of the homes. So if we get the question, what are we doing to replace? And that has been identified in landscape experience.
Okay, so any of the trustees have questions for the applicant?
Can I start with some comments?
Certainly.
I can't see it because of the podiums. I want to start on a positive note. Thank the developer and the owner, because this plan is vastly improved from the one we first saw 3 or 4 months ago at planning. So I want to acknowledge that also as a neighbor of the property. The fewer units being at 30 a plus. You took out at one point, you had several ADUs taken out. The association agreements will not allow any short-term rentals. That's positive. You took out the nature trail, which is right on the eastern edge, to maintain the 57-foot buffer, which I applaud you for. I also like the condition that you agreed to the planning commission about the no use of pesticides, and to also submit a landscape plan for approval by our township plan. So thank you for that. The other point I had on here was going to be about the stormwater basin. Could you make it smaller and maybe deeper? Obviously, you've done that, so I don't have to request that. So now and these are broader questions, and I don't know if they're for you or Renee or our attorneys, but based on the turnout tonight was pretty strong. I made some really good comments from the public. And the ones that hit me, have we or could we request a review of the intersection from the Allegheny County Road Commission, either before we approve or some kind of contingency? Because it sounds to me like there's a support for another roundabout, and I know these take time, we went through one. I would support that because I live near this intersection and it's 5 streets and it's really, really difficult. So I throw that out there, and I don't know if that's for you, Dave. Who answers that?
But at the time, the planning commission did not recommend that a traffic study should be done. I will say though that the intersection did come up in our Blue Star safety plan.
Right.
And we had proposed 2 options for that intersection. One would require a lot more coordination with some of the neighbors. So I was happy to see one of the neighbors identify himself tonight, because I do think he's right that, if you put in a roundabout, his property particularly could be impacted. There's another layout that we're looking that would create like a true like 2-way intersection and get rid of the other roads, but it would require working with some of the neighboring property owners. The road commission, because they were on our steering committee for the corridor plan, did identify quite a bit of money, over $1 million, to do a big improvement project here. That money was cited for 2028, but it could be moved up sooner than that. So, I would say that to go back and ask for I would have to talk to Lene and the planning commission about why they didn't request or didn't feel like it was necessary to request a traffic study. Probably part of that is because it's not on Blue Star, but we do have existing plans that show improvements at that corridor, at that intersection, and the road commission has earmarked funding specifically for improvements at that intersection. I wouldn't want to jump in and say, definitely do a roundabout. What we're doing on the side is we're working with Progressive, Progressive is our consultant that helps us with road design and road safety related projects. They're really an excellent firm. They have a lot of people with diverse and strong backgrounds. So like the former road director for the city of Grand Rapids is directly helping us on this project. He's one of our consultants. So what we're looking at is identifying which parcels we would have to coordinate with to do to reorient the intersection so there are there's only one road coming in, and that would involve closing down part of 65th and 135th. And redirecting them towards this new intersection. So a lot of things are in the works behind the scenes. So have we identified this as a problematic intersection? Yes. Have we identified 2 possible solutions for the intersection? Yes. Has funding been lined up for implementing those solutions? Yes. Is it going to happen tomorrow? No. But it could happen as early as 2027, the implementation of that road improvement project.
I think that's what the planning commission asked the board to do, to move it out, to do everything in their power to get that work higher priority.
And the road commission has already let me know that it can be moved up. It's flexible. So we can absolutely communicate to them that. I would like to inquire into the first option, which is gonna require more coordination with the neighbors. But I do think that at the end of the day, it's a superior solution to the roundabout. Although I think a roundabout there would also be a solution, but I think that, yeah, we're starting to move that ball forward and figuring out, which property owners we have to work with directly to see if there's an appetite for the first option. And if there's not, we can work within the existing right of way to implement a roundabout.
Before we get into any more deliberation, I'd like to open the public hearing and then go back to the discussion.
Oh,
That's
sure.
okay.
Okay.
So you go with
I
that.
had a relevant comment.
Oh, well, do you have a question for the applicant? I guess.
Right now. It's about what we're discussing. And at one point, I think you said 2027 and potentially moved up.
Right now, the money is earmarked for 2028, but the road commission said that year is flexible and could be moved up to 27.
Which is right around the corner.
Which is right around the corner, yeah.
My question for the developers, because I don't know that much about construction schedules. To the point this might get approved, the 30 units and the landscaping, how long does that take?
We'd be engineering through this next 4 to 6 months, engineering and permitting for bidding. Sometimes winter for spring start would be our ideal. So it'd be the 2026 underground construction season paved, by this time, 2026. And then going into individual building construction. So we're probably looking at, April, May of 2027.
The first potential.
Yeah.
And then, just to what you just said, is the plan, would you be building as people purchase, or are you building first? Or
We do building.
foundation?
We jump in there and get a couple buildings, probably get one townhouse, maybe one or two duplexes to set the scene, so people can see what it's gonna be. To get the first sales.
So it could be a 2 to 3 year period until you're at the 30 units.
Yeah, it really would be, because that first year will come.
That's what I want to get here.
Yep.
The only thing I would maybe do before we go into the public comment is to at least go over like the parallel plan.
Okay.
Because what we're seeing right now is a PUD. So with the PUD process, it allows for more flexibility. In this case, flexibility with setbacks between buildings. And by allowing decreased setbacks between buildings, we can allow for increased setbacks between neighboring properties and then actually dedicated green space. So what we do in the PUD process is we require the applicant, you can go back to that, we require the applicant to submit an initial plan, which shows what the applicant can do by right. So what the zoning allows to be constructed. And this shows you what zoning allows to be constructed. So they can construct 28 units, which is shown here. And you can see that the setbacks are pretty close to the neighboring parcels. There's no dedicated green space. And then actually some of the units you can see are directly facing 135th. The applicant did go through the PUD process, and so we allowed flexibility in terms of laying out the individual buildings. And then if you want to go, So you can see that we were able to increase the setbacks between the neighboring properties. I think the requirement is only 15 feet. We were able to get 57 feet on the east side. And then we were able to get, I think that whole area for the natural area is over 4 acres. I think it's almost 5 acres. And that's a nice, solid block of green space. So that's going to be undisturbed. So typically, if we said no tonight, the developer could come back with the by right plan and build it as is. So I just, want you to, just kind of point that out, that that's what we're kind of thinking about, that they could absolutely go back and pursue the by right plan, which they would just adhere to our normal setback requirements. In this case, we did give them some flexibility in the setbacks between buildings. However, we were, for the community, you're able to gain increased setbacks between properties and then dedicated green space where you would not see that disturbed. And that's all been agreed to by the developer.
Thank you for highlighting.
Right, just-
We all know that, but.
Well, I want to reiterate the points. When I was thanking them for those changes, those were to the newly submitted plan, most recent, not the by right plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I guess, is this formal? Is this plan over there? It's not the same as the one in the packet.
No,
So how do we handle that?
So we would cite it as a condition in the motion that it would be the plan that was submitted or presented to the board on September 10th.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and, open the public hearing regarding the Singapore Retreat PUD. And I know most of you, exercised your, right to speak at, public comment, sorry. Running out of words. But you do have another chance to speak, and the same rules apply. It's not question answer. 3 minutes for individuals, 5 minutes for people speaking on behalf of a group. I guess maybe we'll start with people online. Is there anyone joining us via Zoom that would like to speak during the public hearing? Please raise your hand. If anyone on Zoom wishes to speak, please raise your hand. Going once. Going twice. Nope. Sure. All right, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Oops. We'll get to everyone.
Again, Lynn Miller, 6473 Blue Star Highway. Again, thank you for the thoughtful presentation. I just want to call attention to the board that in the comments, it was mentioned that no thought had been given to Blue Star Highway in accepting these drawings. And I would just implore you that in the future, any development in this corridor area, that would be your primary concern, because that's what's concerning your constituents is safety, traffic, and overcrowding. And for every developer that came before us today, I was kind of surprised when Mr. Walker indicated that with the TIF approval and the the water sewer situation infrastructure that he stood to gain because he had 14 acres waiting in the wings. So I'm just putting you on notice that before anything's brought forward on that property or any others, that you consider Blue Star Highway infrastructure. Thank you.
Yeah. Sir?
Thank you. My name is Charles Cornelisi, 6473 Blue Star Highway, Lot 2. Two comments. We had 9 individuals representing 6 owners from the SRVR tonight. Typically during the week, we only have 10 to 15 people in the park. So about close to 50% of those available came just to express a concern, and just wanted to let you know there could be some issues, which have already been presented. My second point is to, I guess, my fellow citizens out in the audience that we're not enemies here. These guys aren't enemies. We're all trying to do what's right for our community, and I applaud the board for doing what you do to make this community, keep this community a good place. So thanks for working together.
My name is Stephen Rabel. I'm raised in Saugatuck. I live right down the road, and my address is insignificant. I stand here to represent more than myself. This is not welcomed. There's not even 20 homes in the block, like the whole block, and whatever they're trying to do with this will destroy the community. I remember moving here as a child, or being here as a child, and people would buy acres so that this wouldn't happen. This is the first time developers have tried to come in and develop. And everybody up here, I'm proud that you're on this board. And the community trusts you to make decisions to protect them. And this is one of those situations. I have a dog in the fight now. So it's important to me that as many people as possible be aware of this situation. There wasn't studies done if it was going to work. And it's not that I don't want new people in our community. It's just this is the wrong location. And if they want to keep fighting and fighting to put it here and here and here, every time I come here, there's more people here that oppose it. There's not one person I've talked to that says this is a great idea to develop our community long term. So that's what I have.
Hi, Maria Brooks Miller again. I got chicken scratch here, so I'll try to cover what. I'm sorry, I'm not convinced of the runoff basin doing its job. You did clarify that you made it smaller. You didn't exactly say deeper, but you kind of said yes. So, I don't see how honestly you can't understand how invading your project is. The nature little walk thing you have encroaches on my neighbors and their privacy. Hence why I said that gated community.
That was changed.
Oh, it was? I thought you said there was a little nature plan thing.
Sorry.
Yeah, but that's
On
Jan's.
the northwest,
It's still,
there's no nature trail through the 57-foot buffer, right? No. That was taken out. That's
taken out.
I thanked you for that.
oh, right here.
It does not.
Okay, I'll apologize.
That's okay.
I do find it convenient that when you guys did change that little C1 to R1, you know, it really helped out the neighbor that sold that property to you and nobody else. And these are just points I have found. And I thought I didn't know enough about this in the beginning. I had no idea. Jan and some other people had a lot more idea on that. And that's why I didn't want that to be converted, because we wanted to figure out that this plan was correct first and not give them any leeway. Hence why she said that. Anyway, the amount of light, I think I brought this up before, that this will produce, because I'm sure there's going to be little street lights and stuff, will shine through to all of us. So, you know, our nice dark back areas will be lit up. I don't get how this community is going to help our bigger community, our property values, my safety, my peace of mind, and my fellow neighbors. The last thing I want to say is by right plan. I don't get that. That kind of sounds like we're screwed either way, because if you guys don't pass it, then they can just do by right plan and say, screw you, we're going to do it anyway. So if that happens, I really hope you guys figure out a way that that's not a loophole, that people can still screw with us and do what they please, because that is not correct. We didn't come here to just be brushed off. We have an important thing to say. And if it was your backyard, your family house, you would agree. Please consider that. Again, I don't think there's anything we can do. That's the by right plan. I honestly don't know how.
No, Carol Fay, lot 6473 Blue Star Highway, I'm sorry, lot 83. I came up and talked about this assessment. I did find the the paperwork on it. We were assessed in March 8th, 2013. The total project was $4,300. And this is called the Golf Drain District.
430,000.
Huh?
430.
Did I say 400?
430.
Yeah, 430,000. And this was spread out to all the property owners that are along that drainage from Saugatuck Township, Laketown Township, City of Saugatuck, and also Allegheny County owns property along it. And what I maybe wasn't told, but what I believe is that that drain, the golf drain, was a direct result of the housing on the end of 164th. But what is it? Or that goes next to Spectators. 64. Anyway, so I'd like to, please look into that and see what caused that assessment. Was it or what it was? So anyway, so thank you. Good job, guys. Anyway, thank you.
Hi, I'm Patricia Chase, 3565 65th Street. Live right across the street there. What I hear an awful lot of people saying is that we all moved to Saugatuck for our own reasons. Many of us have been here for a long time. We've been here for about 12 years. It's not only the beauty, it's the culture of Saugatuck that we don't want to see changed. And large development changes that culture. And we're all worried about that. But I personally, because of where I live, I'm one of the lucky people that had an accident in front of the Doom Rides last fall. And it was because the person behind me was confused as to what to do. And he turned in front of me as I was turning left on 65th Street. It's because it's too confusing there already. We need to take that into consideration because I have grandchildren. I have children. I am one of those little ladies that gets 10,000 steps in every day. And I try to cross the street sometimes for 5 to 10 minutes when I'm just out for a walk. People don't know how to navigate this already. We just can't afford to have another 60 to 100 cars going through there every day. So I hope you'll take that into consideration, but hope you'll take into consideration the rich culture that we already have. Because we really like to stay like it is. We love Saugatuck. Thank you.
In fact, 6473 Blue Star Highway, Irving Resort. I too have been coming here for over 30 years and have seen all this development come just again from this corridor, just so that you hear how I'm not here. I asked if the road study, is it public knowledge when you did the last road study and when was it?
Yes.
Okay, so we can get a copy of that. Was it in February or January? So my question is the road study in June, July, and August?
Can I? Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we didn't actually, so it was really interesting the way we did it. We did not do a traditional road study where we put, did road counts on the road. We actually utilized this new software called, or app called, Streetlight. So what it does is it's tracked people for, I think, like 5 or 6 years by your cell phone. So we could see how many cars were traveling on Blue Star, how fast they were going, where they turned, how long it took to turn, where they stopped. So we could see data over multiple years, all year long. So yeah, we could pinpoint it to a specific day in July, which we looked at, or we could look at it in January, the same date.
It can't be for one day.
No, we looked at it for we looked at it for 3 years.
Yeah. So I'm asking you as a board to really think about that and do a study in, June and July. We'll get lawn chairs, we'll sit up there, I'll bring beer, whatever you guys want. But you need to see how this traffic is affecting the areas down here. Even for us to get out of the park, people pulling into the Holland Hospital Clinic. It's something bad is going to happen. It's not when, it's if, it's when. So again, please consider that. Thank you for your presentation. I think, it could be tabled, do a study on this whole area. Thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak at the public hearing?
Stephen Chase, 3565 65th Street. As I mentioned yesterday, a retired physician. My primary concern is preservation of human life. I have seen so many near misses on that intersection. I've almost got nailed myself riding my bike by somebody trying to figure out how to get out there. And I would beg you to delay your vote until after a thorough traffic study and to exhaust all means possible to do something, anything to improve the safety of the intersection. I remember reading some time ago this Airstream Park. The developers were going to put up big money to help with a traffic signal or something over there. Are these guys going to pony up some money to help improve that intersection? Maybe that should be part of the requirement. Anyway, I would beg you to delay the vote until after you've exhausted everything to make that intersection safer. I could not live with myself if I didn't pester you to death. If some child is run over by a truck.
Or an old man.
Or an old man, yes, yes. Okay, thank you.
Again, 3511 Whiteside Lane. Traffic thing, it's definitely an issue. But there are a gazillion people crammed in this little spot in our sweet little neighborhood. That's a lot of people in this little area. I get you have a right to develop. I was married to people once. But we took into consideration the neighborhood we were building in. And I just feel like this is not appropriate. There's land on the other side of Blue Star, on the other side of 196. It's wide open. I get you own the property, but maybe put 9 big fat houses on it. It's not affordable housing anyway. So put 9 big fat expensive houses on it, make your money back, and then do this on the other side of the highway where it's a little more appropriate, it's a little more open, and then it can be okay. And keep the money back by putting that house on there, and people will buy it, and it will keep the feeling of the neighborhood. It will keep what Saugatuck is, in my opinion. So.
Anyone else? Okay.
Do online again.
If anyone on Zoom wishes to speak, please raise your hand. Anyone? Going once? Checked at the beginning, we checked at the end, I guess. I guess no one's listening. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing at 8:18 regarding the Singapore retreat PUD. Open this time up for discussion and action. No action. Quick, I'm not to put you on track with John, but I'd like to hear from you as our planning commission liaison.
Well, PUD as proposed covers a lot less of green space than would be allowed by right. And what would be allowed by right would be big houses, big driveways, lots of runoff, lots of destruction of mature woods. And this PUD would be a lot less intrusive. Yes, it's close together, it's tightly compact. And it has the capacity to have water and sewer to it, so you don't have septic tanks and wells. It should be a bonus. Because septic tanks take up a lot of space, and you have to have 2 septic fields set up, one for use and one for reserve. The PUD is more compact. On the other side of the highway, there is more open space, that is true, but it doesn't have water and sewer available to it. So a development like this PUD could not happen. And as we heard from our consultants at our last planning commission meeting, the way to keep housing more affordable is to use existing infrastructure rather than all new. This would have some new infrastructure, but it would connect to the existing infrastructure instead of having all new infrastructure. So that's kind of where I am. If the PUD is denied, the people who have the right to develop the property the way the zoning ordinance allows it, that would be that drawing that's up on the screen right now. And so that's my feelings on it. And there are a lot of conditions that are planning commission attached. I think there's 14 of them. And we're looking at what's the land that is even less intrusive than the one that's all the rest.
I would like to speak from the heart. I dare say that I was born here 1955 in the Kirby house. My first house was on 134th Street and there was a gravel road. It didn't even extend. This area you're living in, I don't know if you're aware, is called Dingleville to the people that are really, really native here. I have seen, it's a different town than when I was born here. It's progress. I love my new neighbors. I owned a home on 134th, and when Maple Gate went in, I freaked out. I mean, it's like how dare that happen? I owned that property for 40 years, and then all of a sudden there's a big subdivision there. Change happens. I've grown to love the people that have moved here. The reason I'm serving this board is I want this community to be as welcoming as possible. I think that's what we're about. We have worked so hard to make this plan a better plan than it was. I know we all don't like the short-term rental situation, but it is what's happening, and we're working very hard. I wish that somebody would have bought this property and donated it to the town. In a perfect world, that's what would happen, but that's not the case. So I hope you understand our position. I almost needed an AED tonight when I heard everyone speak. I'm not kidding, I had a panic attack. This affects me deeply. But my father owned a drugstore. Labor Day came, you wouldn't see anybody till the next Memorial Day. But you know what? It's different. And we all want to live here. So please know that we understand where you're coming from. And we're trying so hard to do the best thing. And we're working on Blue Star. And, we're just trying very, very hard to do the right thing. And I just want you to understand that.
Thank you, Trustee Schwann. Well stated.
That was good.
It was. It's very nice. I would like to talk a little bit about the road commission. The road commission has been very good partners to us. But a lot of your concerns would, I would encourage all of you that have concerns about that intersection to direct them to the road commission, to attend their meetings via Zoom or in person, to write them letters. Unfortunately, we have zero control over such matters. I mean, we have some influence potentially, but really they're the ones that are the decision makers, and they have the rules that they have to abide by. But we know that the pressure works and people showing up in numbers work. And, this, a lot of us took office 7+ years ago. And this intersection has been a problem that whole time. We're working hard, Manager DeFranco is working hard, the road commission is working hard, but I'm really cut out the middleman, go to them. They need to hear it from the constituents that are living here, that have almost been hit by cars, that, they're the ones, like I said, cut out the middleman. They need to hear the real message. It's just my observation. Treasurer Helmer, did you have?
Well, just to add on that, also, because it's a county issue, the roads, our county commissioner, most people don't even know who that is. His name is Brad Lovers, was elected in November. Contact him.
He was appointed.
Yes. No, well, he was elected.
He was appointed.
Well, he was, they're elected, the county commissioners are elected. He was. Okay.
But that's a good resource. Thank
Yeah,
you.
because it's not just us, we don't have control over any of the roads. Just I counted, the current, what's in front of us has 20 conditions. That's a lot. And I just want to underscore again, I know you've heard this all night. The by right or parallel plan is, in my view, horrible. It destroys the tree buffer. It's more units. That's why I opened by thanking these gentlemen for how far they progressed, because we just, we're not omnipotent. Is it omnipotent? But we're not that easy. No, anyway, just want to remind you. So I guess, would we need, or is this a higher question? We need to put a condition, if we vote today, that that's the plan we're voting, since we never saw it till this. How would we?
I would add it as a condition to the motion, and then I would have the applicant submit it to me, and then we would agree upon that that is the plan, and that would be referenced in the ordinance that you would adopt.
I think there's significant differences there, and they're good ones, so, yeah. I want to ask a question. This goes back to 2005. When I was speaking in the audience, for the planning commission and the board, it's a fairly new person here to the community. I kept saying, we need to do an environmental impact study. So I don't know if it's too late to request that. And I know you've answered the issues that run off from that, the smaller basin. But it seems like any development that close to such a spring-fed, clear stream should be open to that kind of thing. And I don't say that to delay things. I'm just wondering if, I don't know what the time frame would be. If it's a smart condition that maybe we should do.
I mean, I would say that our engineers work closely with the applicant, and what they do is they look at the grade, they look where the stormwater is running. That's why the retention pond is placed where it is. Like, we have requirements that you don't drain stormwater into a creek. So, anytime we get a large scale project like this, we have a professional consultant or an engineer consultant on staff who reviews everything and does a full review, provides that report to the planning commission, reviews any updates to the plan, so that the planning commission can understand the impacts of the development. So in this case, our engineer did do a comprehensive review of this plan, did provide input, which was then implemented into updated plans. So Prine and Newhoff does look at all of that, and Prine and Newhoff did have direct comments and recommendations that were updated into this plan. So I guess I would want to know what kind of environmental impact, if you're talking about stormwater runoff, the stormwater runoff is being held on site.
Right, no, I understand.
Yeah.
I asked a question about something, some new
Sorry,
information.
I'm sorry, it's not a question answer session. For understanding. You stay after, if you have a question that could be answered.
I was just going to ask, this is new to me that we have to go to the road commission. If you could just wait and give us a chance to go to the road commission before you move ahead.
Well, the only way to do that is if someone suggests that we postpone the decision. I'm saying that could be done.
To go to the road commission?
No, we could, we don't have to vote yes or no to that. We can always. And I'm not suggesting we do that. I'm just in response to the gentleman, we could postpone.
I mean, couldn't Plan B go in effect right now, right?
Would it?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, and at any point, the applicant could withdraw their PUD application and submit a by right plan.
And that could
Well, that's an.
go without our approval, correct? I think it's.
So that, not a good idea.
No.
I was just asking the question.
Yeah, I just.
That's an education for all of us.
Yeah. With the road commission, we can all work on.
Yeah. Well, there, I
Even
mean,
more than we have.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Including the people that turned out to them. The more people that weigh in, maybe things will move faster.
be good. I mean, they would definitely understand our point of view because we work very hard to have, because that's the hard thing. When you say safety to the road commission understands something different. They understand moving capacity, where from the township's perspective, from what we're hearing from the public, to us, safety should be from the perspective of the pedestrian. So, you know, we want slower speeds, we want crosswalks, we want safe places for people to walk. We want measures that slow cars down. We want improved intersections. You know, unfortunately, when they built Blue Star, they left us with some pretty awful intersections. So this is all part of a bigger strategy for listening to the public. And, you know, from what Stacy said and Abby said, we very much appreciate you being here and listening to you. And we want to advocate for you. And, you know, we're working on it. You know, the you know, Dairy Days and the RV camp is on our list because of the terrible open access to parking. So we want to fix that. We want to address all of the intersections. We want to see the sidewalks. We want to see the crosswalks. We want to see the slower speed limits. So we're kind of doing everything at the same time. So as we're reviewing these plans coming in, and we want to make sure that there's adequate green space and you know, we're respecting that, you know, inherent character, Saugatuck, that we all love. We are, you know, at the table with the road commission. We bring them to the table. We fund the studies. We get them to see things from our perspective, and we're trying to, you know, influence them to, you know, implement a design for our Blue Star Highway that's going to work for us now and into the future. So, yeah.
So in terms of proposing an additional condition to vote on, at what point do we do that? Or do I do that?
I think that we are at a point where we can take action to, we have a prepared motion. We could add the condition to that this plan presented tonight is the plan.
Right.
And
I meant specifically call out with like the reduced retention pond.
Okay.
Dated, submitted September.
Yeah, because as you know, we can make any change we want to, right? So. So you want to answer the motion?
certainly.
Yeah. You make it again. All right. So correct me Feel free to correct me before we vote.
Do you want the prepared motion to add to it, or you have it?
I have it.
Okay, sorry,
It's adding that. All right, I'm going to move to adopt ordinance number 2025-08. An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance and zoning map of Saugatuck Township to establish the Singapore Retreat Planned Unit Development PUD and rezone land within the new PUD overlay district with the 20 or so conditions suggested by the planning commission, and adding one tonight, that the site plan presented by the developer and owner on September 10th, 2025, that shows a reduced water basin retention pond.
Was the official site plan.
Be the official plan that we are voting.
Sure, well done.
Sorry. I always made it.
All right. I'd be happy to support that motion. Any further discussion? I'll call the roll. Homer,
Yes.
Bigford, yes. Osmond,
Yes.
Aldrich.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we still have a little bit of business to cover. And we'll move on to, this will be item number 3, since we deleted item number 3. So item 4 then. NRTFF reauthorization resolution. That's on page
92. Yeah. This is kind of in the vein of what we've been talking about, and maybe I wish we were in a different location. Actually, I don't wish, but I think that this project demonstrates that the township does care about water conservation. So we're in the process of acquiring 120 acre parcel property with 2,200 feet on the Kalamazoo River. We had an appraisal done and they determined that 74 sites could fit on this property. So if we acquire that, we're saving that property. So we have our application in with the Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund grant program. We got a preliminary score back, which was actually a very strong score. It's like 355. I forget out of how many, but that's a strong score. And I've been working on the side to see if we can secure any additional funding that would go towards our 25% match. And then I've been working directly with the Land Conservancy of West Michigan to see if there's any way that they could help with the project. So I submitted them a formal proposal and they reviewed that internally and they came back to me with an offer to provide 5% of the total project cost to the township towards our local match. So that would be, at this point, it's $176,000, but it could be up to $200,000. This is not towards our 25% required match. It would be on top of that. So then it would bring the township local match to 30%, which gives us more points in the scoring process. It also, in addition to just points, providing additional funding to the project makes it more enticing to the trust fund board because they know now that they have another $176,000 to $200,000 to spend or to fund another great project in the state of Michigan. So I alerted the DNR staff that this was coming. They're thrilled. So I think this definitely puts our grant application in a much stronger position. It's really great to see that the Land Conservancy of West Michigan cares about this project, recognizes the value of the project, and wants to ensure that we're successful in securing this 120 acre site, which would be a future township park. So what this resolution does is essentially reauthorizes our submission of an application to the trust fund and amends our initial application to include the $176,000 being donated by the Land Conservancy of West Michigan.
But
But
I have a question. How can we refer to this property? It's the name or?
Right now, I'm calling it Riverside Park, but that could change. If we got a donor that wanted naming rights,
Shouldn't we use the current property owner's name?
I prefer not to.
Okay. So you're calling it Rivers?
I'm calling it Riverside Park. Yeah, that's what we're referring to. And I think that's what our application is called, Riverside Park. But that
As
could,
opposed to Pine Trail.
yeah, or River Bluff Park.
Yeah, side. Thanks. I never got how to refer to it. So,
Okay, well, we covered this yesterday as well, so this is just a, going over that again, I would move, or I would, entertain a motion. I'm out of words today.
I move to adopt resolution 2025-19, a resolution to reauthorize the mission of Saugatuck Township's Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund grant application for acquisition.
I'll support.
We have a motion, by Aldrich, support by Homer. Any further discussion? Work on this, Danielle. Okay, is this roll call? Because it's resolution.
I would do a roll call, yeah.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Humrick?
Yes.
Osmond?
Yes.
Bigford, yes. All right, we have one more, easy housekeeping item under new business, number 4, Huntington Bank Credit Card Program. Daniel, go ahead and.
So you want me to take this?
If you want to.
Why not?
Yeah, that's easy. That's easy.
Pressure your help.
Simple one, we
Okay.
talked about it yesterday. This is simply changing, we've had the township's had its credit card, this company called Elan, I don't know, long before us, we just inherited it. This just changes our corporate or township's credit card for certain expenses to Huntington Bank, who is our bank. They're in town, and we have a really good relationship with them. So that's all this is, just making that change. Issues the credit card. How many do we have now? Is it just 3?
Just 3.
Yeah, so there's only 3 issued that are needed for certain expenses. So.
Yeah, that's easier for monitoring to have all the credit cards with the primary banking institution.
Here in town, the local manager is terrific, and then our regional government relations manager is even better than the local. So we have a good relationship.
Okay.
So having said that, I'm
Yes.
gonna move to authorize Saugatuck Township to take out a credit card program with Huntington Bank and authorize Peter Stanislawski, the finance coordinator, to execute the Huntington commercial card.
Motion support.
I'll support that.
Okay, we have a motion and support, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. That is all for new business. We have no future topics. That brings us back to public comment. Is there, members of the audience to speak?
Kathy Stern, 2579 62nd Street. I love you. I just want to say that, in one of discussions with, some people in the surrounding area and stuff, they're not aware that these hearings or these proposals are coming forward. And I strongly suggest that maybe a communication go out so that they sign up for the monthly meeting agendas, as well as for the board, as well as the planning commission, and any other commissions, because you have to be informed and you can't wait until the last minute when someone throws something out on Facebook with misinformation and then everybody shows up and expects it to change. That's too late. So be involved, be informed, and then act.
And that's all I have to say, is they've got, I don't know, Daniel, what you can do to get that word out, but every resident of Saugatuck Township should be on that mailing list, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay. This by right plan, I have no idea what the need for us to show up was for, really. If they were allowed to do what they wanted to do. I get that we got a better option, but it still seems like a loophole. I'm so new to all this. So I'm sure this thing has been around forever. But to maintain Saugatuck, to be still grow and change and blah, 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 blah. I do think there needs to, I don't know if you guys have the power to make an ordinance, something with this, like if it's this big of a property, I have no idea, because obviously when someone owns it, they can do with it what they want. Still, then I question, why do we have a board? Why do we come here and speak? I feel like my time was wasted. And you're right. Your website sucks. I can't find the minutes as easy. Yeah, I mean, all websites actually kind of suck, not just yours, but it is not easy to find. I know there's a lot of people in the community that would come, but they don't know where to find it. So someone might learn on Facebook last minute, better than being oblivious to what's going on. But seriously, the connection, and that's not just the township, anything on the internet. It's very hard to find the people you want, whether it's for your community or some type of hobby you have. There's a disconnection. You are not getting the people in early enough to talk and to, again, it sounds like it was hopeless from the beginning anyway, to me. If this by right plan is the word of God, basically, it doesn't matter. And it should. And I will still fight for what I believe in. It won't stop me. But honestly, it's just for me to say it, because nothing's going to be fixed. And unless you guys can figure out a way to protect our community with growth that's still happening, again, I think everyone thinks I don't want anything there. Whoever said putting houses in there that went with the community that's already here, fine. I don't expect it to be empty. I really don't. There you go.
I think I can talk there.
Alright. Is there anybody still with us?
People.
If anyone in public comment wishes to speak, please raise your hand or unmute yourself. Going once. Going twice. Going a third time. No.
All right, I will go ahead and close public comment and board member comments. I will kick that off so I don't forget my train of thought, because it's that train of stations, but I'd like to speak to Kathy's comment, and I agree, Kathy. It's disheartening to see people that are getting involved at the very tail end when things have almost been, they've all been discussed, deliberated, almost, the decisions have almost been made, right? And I would like to balance that out with the work that Manager DeFranco and his staff, largely Morgan as well, have done such a great job in the last few years, utilizing social media, utilizing our public relations for press releases, utilizing our e-blast. You know, I get so many invitations to all these meetings just on my email. So it's a great start. I think we're doing so much more. Thank you guys for that than so many communities, but there still is more. You know, this woman that just spoke, she had a lot of passion. Maybe we can get her involved in local government and they're trained up and she can lead some charges. So I appreciate your comments and I appreciate the work that they've done. But I agree, we can reach for, we can do better, you know, we can always do better in those areas. So, other board comments?
I'll just add to that, and you know, we've talked about this, I don't know where it comes from, but it's a challenge for us.
Mhm.
Yeah, when they made reference to the development in Douglas, yeah, that's been all over the commercial record. And Scott does tend to ignore us. Until, you know, when we, you know, our PR people, you know, got great coverage on the dedication of the sculpture. Okay, this isn't as big as the Douglas development, but it's significant. And again, you know, it blew up on Facebook last night. I don't know who started it, and the names, I didn't even know any of the names I was reading. But I don't know how we overcome that. You know, we want to.
I nominate you to have a coffee with Scott Sullivan.
It's fair.
He did cover this in the.
Yeah, I saw.
He did cover the Singapore retreat in the paper.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that doesn't mean we can't.
And again, not everyone reads.
No.
It's just,
Yeah.
you gotta do everything.
Right.
We've increased, how many people get our blasts now?
1,800.
18. Well, that's fabulous. I mean, that's. But do they read them? Yeah.
The public notices.
I think we're past public comments. I mean, I'm sorry.
She gets.
When we put the public, and I have this problem, the public notices, but you give the property legal description,
Oh.
which is just a bunch of numbers. Is there a way to put the address or the area where that's going to be? I think that would be a huge help.
That's a good
Good
idea.
question.
That's fair, we can look into
We can look
it,
at
see
that.
what the requirements
Because
are.
I look at that, I don't know where that is.
It depends on if it has an address or not.
Well, even if it doesn't have an.
The intersection or
address,
whatever,
you know,
something
but
like that.
the area where it is, and I think a lot of this would have been eliminated if they, you know, I think they just didn't realize until the last minute.
Yeah.
Because they don't pay.
Yeah, and some of the most vocal people were neighbors of mine, because I'm one of the adjacent properties. But then so many of the new people today were from the RV park,
Yeah.
which fascinated me.
I agree.
Because it's
Well,
not,
that's
it's
why
not even that adjacent. You can still be full pro or con of development. I don't know.
Well,
They're not
their point
affected the
was,
way.
is I've been going through this my whole life and we welcome people and, you know, we felt like that.
And the
you
RV
know?
park people are full time.
Right, it's just like you have to.
They don't know, it's only seen.
Listen, they're not full time.
Oh, yeah.
Do you, either of you have comments? We can wrap this up in a later. Okay.
Can I make one comment?
Yes. Yes. Please.
Completely off this subject. Major construction has started at the dog.
Yes, it has.
I was there yesterday, but I believe they were starting yesterday today. They're really coming along, they're making a lot of progress. And I'm very pleased about that. So, thanks.
You should be, so are we.
All right, I'm gonna go board member comment and go ahead and adjourn our meeting at 8:53.